Well, we are setting up back here for you to see a very short video, so I thought I would use this time and distract you with a very important information, which is about who our speakers are. I'm Gale Spak. I'm an Associate Vice President at NJIT for Continuing and Distance Education, and I'm going to have a great time with this panel. I hope you will too. First, before I even introduce who they are, I want to know who in this room is looking, it doesn't have to be a woman, but we like the women today particularly, who in this room is actually looking for a job in the future in IT, any aspect? Hands up? Okay, I think people sitting in the back are our students perhaps? More, all right. Well, we hope that this panel will be quite useful for you because we are talking about the digital jobs, careers of today and tomorrow. So let me I'm going to read a little bit about who we have here because their backgrounds are so impressive. The first person I want to introduce is Avis Yates Rivers. She is the president and CEO of Technology Concepts Group International. She has 35 years, she's written it down, so I'll say it, in this experience, in this area. Before that, she had many years at Exxon, and with a particular emphasis on accounts and account management. She has worked tirelessly to increase the development and utilization of minority and women-owned businesses. How many minority and women-owned businesses are in the room still? Well, we have someone you'll be able to ask a great deal of questions and experience about. And she has held leadership positions in various supplier diversity advocacy organizations. She is a staunch advocate, as you will see, for increasing girls' and women's participation in information technology. She's on the board of directors for the National Center for Women and Information Technology and serves as the spokeswoman for the organization's Sit With Me campaign. I'm very happy to have her here with us today.
Got my own applause.
Our next introduction is of Emily Reid. Emily, this is Emily. Emily, some of you sitting around the room and in the back may be familiar with Emily because she was involved and is involved with the Girls Who Code initiative. And I don't know if we have any Girls Who Code learners from last year here today, but there'll be new ones this year. So let me tell you a little bit about Emily. She's the director of the national program, Girls Who Code, and it ensures that gives unrivaled delivery of quality computer science education through a national program of which NJIT is very proud to be able to be part of with Verizon. She holds a master's in computer science from Columbia and a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a minor in computer science from Tufts. Before Columbia, she worked at the Mitra Corporation in cybersecurity, something we heard quite a bit about this morning. And finally, someone who I think will be a recognized, please, yes, a recognized face to some of the students sitting in the room, I hope. We have Professor Dr. Yvette Wong, who is an assistant professor in the NJIT Department of Information Systems, where she runs the Social Interaction Lab. She's interested in understanding long-term use of technology through the lens of soft sustainability, which focuses on the human, social factors of sustainable technology use. I think given what we've just seen about immersive video and user design that Molly spoke about, I think we'll have some very interesting comments from our professor here, Yvette, I'm so sorry. But I also, at some point, I'm asking this audience to ask her. That's something that I'm reading here, which says, She's the winner of the 2015 Yahoo Faculty Research and Engagement Program Award. I don't know why she got the award, but will someone promise me they will ask Yvette that question? Okay. I think, are we ready, Dan? All right. This is the panel. We are going to start with a short video that, would you like to explain it first?
Let it run.
Let it run. All right. Thank you.
The future of technology is the future of our culture, it's the future of our country, and it's the future of the world. It's an exciting time to be in technology.
You want a child to be encouraged to work in that creativity technology. You need to nurture
We
that.
have to mentor the young girls.
We need to help girls not only understand that they can do it, but also know that they're not alone.
Hey, come with me. What do I need to know? Where do I need to go? How do you do that? Can I watch?
Push yourself, and you'll get there.
I don't think it's a choice whether you go into technology. It's just which technology is your passion. You gotta know where your heart is. It's my job to make sure I'm ready for the next step. Always seek opportunities to learn new things. Don't worry about what your weaknesses are. Leverage your strengths. Never shy away from being able to express your knowledge. You have to be the kind of person who likes to learn new things. It's an exciting time to be in technology.
Stay with it, persevere. Yes, it's tough, but you're not alone.
Why don't you go with me and participate? I encourage everybody to find the people that will push them.
Try. That's the main
If
thing.
someone wants to put you in a box, kick all the walls down. You can do it.
Once women are more actively involved in creating technology, we'll change the world.
All right. Yes, yes. All right. I think I should remove my papers from something you saw at the very end of that short video, the red chair. Yeah. So, okay. Can we stop that? That's not the red chair.
All right, do you want me to tell them a little bit more about that red chair?
Yes, I think
I'll
that's
bring it
what
up
we're
here.
up to at this point.
Bring it up
The
front
red
here.
chair.
Can everybody see it? So this red chair is the symbol of NJIT's Sit With Me program. I'm sure that many of you in the audience realize that women and people of color are grossly underrepresented in the tech workforce, in colleges, college programs, and limited access in the K-12 space. And so NJIT, the National Center for Women in IT, was formed by the National Science Foundation in 2004, and Girls Who Code is one of our proud members, as is NJIT in the Academic Alliance, because we need all facets of the world, basically, to fix this problem. It's not just a corporate problem. It's not just a higher ed problem. It's not just a K-12 problem. It's an entire pipeline problem. And that's why NJIT was founded about 12 years ago now to do one thing, and that's fix the problem. We need to achieve parity in women and people of color inventing the technology that we all use every day. Why? It's not so much a question about equality, except it is, but it's also a question of marketability. It's a question of equity and access. And we know that companies who have increased their participation of women and people of color in their tech workforce do a lot better financially than companies that do not. And by the way, there aren't enough men to fill all of the net new tech jobs that U.S. corporations are creating every day. We estimate that 1.2 million new tech jobs will be created in this country on these shores. And with the current rate, graduation rate in U.S. colleges, we are only slated to fill about a third of them. So it's a U.S. competitiveness issue as well. Where are these people going to come from if they're not coming from our schools? And I personally believe that importing the talent is not the answer, not when you have so many underemployed and unemployed Americans who can be trained to do these high-paying, living wage type jobs. So, thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to get off that soapbox because I can talk all afternoon. I'm just warning you all that.
We are keeping on a time schedule.
We
on
are.
this.
We're late, and we're not going to become any later. But Sit With Me is the campaign, the outreach campaign, which just asks a simple question, a simple action. Sit in the red chair and tell us your story and tell us what you can do to impact the increase of women and people of color in technology. That's it. It could have been a boat. It could have been a table, but it's a chair. And it mirrors the impact that Rosa Parks had when she sat down at the front of a bus in 1955, not because she woke up that day and decided she was going to start the civil rights movement. No, she was tired. She was tired, and she paid her money to be on the bus, and she took the first seat that she could find. Similarly, we ask people to take a stand for women in technology by sitting in the chair. We ask you to not stand for anything less than equity and equal access. And we ask you to sit in support of technical women and the contributions that they are making to society. So with that, I'm going to ask you all to sit in the chair before you leave here today. So I'm going to sit down, or else I'll keep talking.
Oh, we'll have many opportunities for you to talk some more. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so we have a second task and request from the group. Not only do we have a question for Yvette, but we're going to stand in line, anyone taking pictures, and we're going to sit in this red chair, because that's such a great symbol of what we're trying to accomplish about women in this digital economy and digital careers. Well, so let me start the panel by beginning with some questions. And I really thank you for how you set this up for us. But Emily, could I ask you, what are people doing to translate this rhetoric and action? You can sit in the red chair as you speak if you want to, but I think you can just be there and tell us what you have seen in your experience about this issue. So what are you doing? What have you found that inspires women to go into computing and IT?
Well, thank you. I'll make sure to grab a picture. And
All right, we have to have a picture. Okay.
So I'm the director of education at Girls Who Code, and we're a nonprofit trying to close the gender gap in tech by teaching middle and high school girls computer science. And so we have my team. I have a background as a computer scientist, as you heard, and so my team develops our curriculum and then hires and trains our teaching staff. So we have 2 programs, and to Gale's question, we're seeing like a real benefit in the programs, and I think there are there's 3 things actually that I think really work and are kind of like the secret sauce in our programs. So we have a summer immersion program, which is a 7-week intensive, and we're really excited to be hosting it for the 2nd year at NJIT.
Yeah.
So thank you, NJIT. And that's sponsored. That program is sponsored by Verizon as well, and it's our 2nd summer here in Newark. This year we'll have 78 of those programs across the country in 12 cities. It's a 7-week intensive for girls going into their junior or senior year of high school, excuse me. And the students come in with literally no experience in computer science. We're not expecting any kind of prep course. And the girls leave at the end of the summer, and they can code in Python and JavaScript. They can build their own apps. They can build their own video games. They've done robotics. And they've worked on a team to develop a final project that usually has some kind of social impact. We were talking about social impact in the last group, right? So I think we've really found that these programs, when we give girls the tools that they need, they can create these incredible technologies that solve serious problems that we're facing. So with that program, that was our first program in 2012. And it's grown significantly since then. We've found that 90% of the girls who've gone through our program who are now in college are actually majoring or minoring in computer science.
Fantastic.
And one of the numbers that I'm really excited about within that is that 75% of those students had a different intended path before Girls Who Code. So when we talk about really changing the gender gap and really actually moving the needle there, we're trying to reach the girls who would not have had access to this kind of education otherwise, or would have chosen a different path potentially. So that's one of the successes that we see. The other program that we have is our clubs program, which is an after-school program. And we have several here in Newark as well. I know last year I spoke to an NJIT student who mentored and taught one of the clubs here in the city. So that's for 6th through 12th grade students, and actually we're going to be opening it up to some younger grades next year. And we'll be opening up the application for that in May. And that's usually the clubs can have fit a couple different kinds of models because we want them to work for the community that they're in. But usually they run for about 40 hours during the course of the year. Mm-hmm. We have a huge range of curriculum for students at a variety of levels. And so that's sort of that program spreads pretty widely. We have 450 clubs running right now, and we're looking to have about 1,500 clubs by the end of next school year.
Fantastic. You know, I don't know if you're aware, but NJIT is also doing for individuals from the city of Newark who have finished high school an art of coding program. And so there are things that we can do, perhaps mix them together with what's happening this summer with what's happening in the city of Newark. We should talk. And
Sure.
this is the purpose of this kind of day, that we hear what's happening and then we start networking with each other, because together we can build something really good. But let me now turn to Yvette. So you now teach our students and of course do research. What have you found that really gets to inspire the women in your class to be studying this and keep them involved and retained and motivated? Have some secret sauce come to your mind? So can you speak a bit about that for us?
Sure. I think that with women, it's always about showing them the bigger picture and trying to have them see where they're going rather than kind of telling them, these are the skills you need. We need to show them how can those skills be used. Right. And my area of research and teaching is something called human-computer interaction. And it's a little bit different from computer science. It kind of merges psychology and communication into computer science to try to understand how are people using technologies. And by technology, we can think of anything starting from databases to even consumer technology like social media and mobile phones. And what's really interesting about this area is that in order to produce better products that people will use and will have a meaningful impact, we have to understand how people feel about using the technology and their experiences with that. And so I found that while we're doing kind of this human-computer interaction research, a lot of the students are learning, they're interacting one-on-one with people who would actually use the technology and actually through that learning what are people's needs. And I think that motivates them more to actually designing and developing the technology because they really understand what it is that people want.
No. Huh. Interesting. Any students in the room who want to just even at this moment say this is how they feel about how they are getting inspired to stay in art classes? Anybody want to be brave back there? Front here? Well, you're going to have a chance later. Any hands? Okay, let's move on. So these were great examples of how to inspire. And we keep looking at that red chair as we think of examples. But we all know there are challenges to bringing women into this profession. We do have a series of slides and PowerPoint to talk about that. So those of you back there who are loading, we want them to come up here.
Okay, good.
But
I don't think they're loaded.
But I can show you from here what they say if you can't see. So, but we're not going to dwell on what you're going to hear, because we're here to also inspire you to understand what is the potential for women and men, but women today, in this profession. So, Dan, you're going to load up.
I can stop talking about it.
You're on.
So, the reason why you see so many organizations talking about this, why you see President Obama's Computer Science Challenge, why you hear Mayor de Blasio announcing that New York City public schools will begin to require computing science as a condition of high school graduation, is because recognition and acceptance of the fact that we have a problem. It's a complex issue. There's no magic bullet, there's no magic wand. We all have to just roll up our sleeves and get it done. We understand what the problems are today. When NCWIT launched in 2004, there was nothing. They had to spend the first couple of years studying the problem. We knew that women's participation was around 35 to 37% in the mid to late 80s as far as the number, the number of women holding technology jobs in U.S. corporations, and then that number took a free fall. And so by early 2000s, that number was closer to the 13%. Now, what happened? What happened? Nobody knew what happened. We kind of took our eye off the ball. The discipline wasn't tracking anything. We don't know what happened, but suffice it to say, the numbers were at an all-time low, and we had to figure out how to begin to bring those numbers up again. And again, I want to stress the point that it is because when you value diversity and the different perspectives and approach to problem solving that diverse people bring to an issue, the resulting technology is better, it's richer, it's deeper. So as good as technology is today, and we're all connected to it, I usually tell people to pick their heads up at this point. But
they're listening to
we are all connected to it. We can't live without it. If we leave our cell phone home, we're going to turn around and go back and get it. I don't care if we're late or what. But as good as it is today, imagine how much better it could be if women and people of color had more input into the design of it. We approach things differently. I always say, until they make that glass to work with fingernails, we're not there yet. We got a ways to go. So it's going to be a woman who comes up with that that glass that can detect fingernails. So this is where we are. We have a U.S. pipeline problem in this country. Girls comprise, 19% of AP computer science test takers, 19%. And women earn about the same amount of degrees in computer information science. And for people like me who have been an employer for 31 years in the tech industry, that problem continues into the workplace as well. We know that women hold 57% of all professional jobs in U.S. corporations. And did I not do that? I'm sorry. And that we are now the majority gender in this country. However, women only hold about 26% of U.S. tech jobs. So we still haven't even gotten back to where we were in the mid to late 80s. We make up only 19% of U.S. software developers. And when you think about the people who are leading the technology departments, R&D, VP of Technology, Chief Technology Officer, only 5% of those positions are held by women. Women need to see themselves in a position to aspire to it. Girls need to see themselves in a position to aspire to it. Or if they can't see it, they're going to be a little challenged in aspiring to those positions. So that's our problem. And then when we shave the numbers back a little bit more and look at ethnic diversity in technology, the numbers become woeful. They become absolutely woeful. So we're looking at Black and Hispanic men, males and females in the tech industry, and we only hold about 9% and 4% of the U.S. tech jobs collectively. 1% Latina, 3% African American women. There's a problem there. Our perspectives, our energy, our approach to problem solving, our creativity is nowhere in the technology that you're using today. But on the other hand, we're buying the most of it. African American women is the single demographic that uses the technology the most. Really? And we're the least involved in the design of it. So that's a problem. The few women who do get into the field and persist and stay in a career, they leave by 56% of the time by the time they reach mid-career, which is why we only have 5% of women in technical leadership, because more than half of the women leave by the time they reach mid-career. And most people think, oh, well, they're leaving to start a family and other familiar type reasons. No, they're staying in the workforce. They're just leaving the field. They're leaving the discipline. They're leaving a hostile work environment. And so it takes a lot of work to get girls through the process, through the pipeline, into careers, to turn around and have them leave more than half of the percent of the time. And so you ask them if they enjoy their work, 74% of them love the work that they do because they see that their work is making a difference and it's helping people. Yet they're still leaving in droves. So there's been this big push of late, and this is my last slide, there's been this big push of late about data transparency. You've seen it in the news, you've heard about it, where starting in Silicon Valley, the tech firms have been challenged to release their diversity data. We want to know what it looks like. We already know it's bad, so please don't think, you're trying to hide a bad situation. We know it's bad. We've already done these studies. But, companies like Google and others really fought in the courts not to have to divulge their numbers. And then they had a change of heart, change of mind, and now over 40-something companies have divulged their numbers. This happens to be Google's, where you can see that 83% of their tech workforce is male, 17% is female, and that ethnic-wise, 60% of their tech workforce is white, 34% Asian, and then those little other numbers in there, which really equates to 1 to 2%, is everybody else. It's all of the rest of us.
Thank you.
It's got to change.
And that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm assuming that some of you in the audience would like to see this presentation of 5 PowerPoints. Will this be possible that we can share anyone making a request to Avis? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So anyone,
By the way, NJIT is a nonprofit organization, federally and corporately funded, and what that has done is it allowed us to do all the social science research and to produce hundreds of resources that you can take, you can learn, you can use today for free at njwit.org. We did not want money to stand in the way of change. And so everything that I've quoted today is from studies and white papers and data that has been studied and created by NJIT. So please go on njwit.org site and feel free to utilize and download anything that's up there.
Before we move off something that is depressing that we're going to try to change, let me ask my co-panelists, any other stats you think we should at least share with this group about what the situation really is today in women in this area, or do we want to move on?
Well, I mean, the kind of statistics we're talking about, I think, it's really important that everyone understands how deep the problem is, even though it can feel a little bit daunting that if this is what you want to go into and we see this pipeline problem. But I have some thoughts about, what are some of the best ways to address that and how things are changing. But if
anything to add about our negativity part of this session?
I don't think I want to add to the negativity.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
We have a question though, but please, Yvette, if you want to finish, or was that you, Emily?
I was just saying, I think that one of the things that we can see, and I think see probably in our work in our departments and at our organizations, that is a huge part of helping solve this problem, and what we're doing right here today is building community. So one of the I love the stats that have come out of NJIT. One of the first times that when I was computer science and math in undergrad, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to pursue a technical career path, I got sponsored by my college to attend the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing, which at the time was much smaller than it is now. It was like 800 people, and now it's closer to 8,000 to 10,000. But even on that smaller order, I remember I attended and I was wowed by the number of women I saw, and I actually remember I got a pamphlet of NCWIT statistics, and it really, really helped ground for my own experience for me, because I often felt like an imposter in my Intro to Computer Science courses, and I'm sure that some of the other folks here today may have felt that way before. And when I realized, how deep the problem was, it kind of validated my own experience and made me feel like less of an imposter. So I think it is important, even though they're unfortunate, it's important to talk about these statistics. But in my experience, that building that community, I went to this Grace Hopper celebration and saw this amazing, and diverse group of women in computing, and I realized that within that diverse community, I could be a computer scientist too.
Yes.
And that's the kind of community that we want to build. We see that with our girls. We have like a Facebook group for alumni of our program, and we see some incredibly amazing things with it. I try not to get emotional when I talk about it, but it is emotional for me because it's something that I felt like was missing in my experience starting out in computer science. Some of the girls will, once they get into college or they're in their AP computer science course and they have a bug in their program, or they have a guy who's bugging them in their class and is making fun of them for being the only girl in the class. And this actually happened a few weeks ago. One of the girls posted, there's a guy in my robotics class who's being kind of a jerk to me that I'm the only girl, what should I do? And before any of the staff members got to see it, all the other girls were there supporting her, giving her ideas about how to talk to the guy, what might be going on in his life, how to talk to the teacher, and just really kind of building this amazing community. And so when I see the numbers, what makes me feel most hopeful is that, as we kind of build more of this community of women in tech, we'll be able to not just go in and move the needle, but support each other so we can move it even further.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to build on that, I actually, I did my master's and PhD in the US, but I went to undergraduate in Korea, and I went to a women's university. And in Korea, it's very homogenous, so 99% of the population is Korean, and everyone there was women. So for me, like, I never had any question in my mind that I would be ever discriminated based on my race, because everyone was the same race. And I had never any question that I would be able to do anything because I'm a woman, because everyone there was a woman, and the expectation was we were all supposed to, grow up and become leaders. And I think that because of that educational background that I had, when I came to the US, I was first gender blind and to these kind of diversity issues, because I didn't realize, well, why should I feel different, or why should I be treated differently as a woman? And I've become to realize more recently that these issues exist in the United States. And to some extent, I feel a lot of that, of course, we need to, build programs, and companies need to come up with better solutions about, how to recruit diverse workforce. But to some extent, I think that there's also a psychological component that begins in the homes, and fostering an environment where a girl can grow up and feel like she can do whatever she wants and is able to explore all of the options out there, I think is really important. So some people here are students, they're also parents. I think it's really important that this kind of sense of community starts at a very, very early age.
Agreed. That's a question. Yes, I see. And now we are very happy to have your question. Please, Jenna, the mic is right behind you.
Yeah, hello, my name is Shivanjali and I'm NJIT student. My question is not just for this panel, but to all the speakers and all the working women in this hall. From the morning we are discussing how to improve ourselves in a technical area, in a leadership area, But my question is that as a woman, we have to take care of our family also. That is our much more important part of our, that means our life. That means I'm pretty much sure that women are confident and they can do this all stuff. But that stuff, when the picture comes in about the children, about the husband, about your family, so how to balance your career as well as the family, and how to, as a student, as a woman, how can I give the importance to the both this field so that I can improve, that means self-develop myself with my family, with my society, and all these women as well. How to?
I think we understand the question.
I
Yes.
get that
Yes.
question everywhere I go.
So go for
So
it.
let me just say to you that the idea of balance is a little unrealistic. Think more of work-life integration. Sometimes work will take a little higher weight or priority, and sometimes it's family. But, you just have to continue to integrate all aspects of your life. We're all much more than a job or a career or a wife or a mother. We're a lot of different things. And so it's incumbent upon us, because the way I do it may not work for you. I like to outsource. Cleaning, gardening, someone else can do that. Someone that is in business to do those things. So, hey, Steph. So what might work for me may not work for you or someone else. So you have to, and then too, I've been doing this a long, long time. So you have to continue to explore, make mistakes, try again, just continue to work. It's going to be a lifelong journey, because as women, we are so multi-dimensional. Sometimes I envy my husband, who I leave sleep every morning in the bed because he's retired. I want to do that too. One of these days I'm going to do that too. But his is a much simpler life, and sometimes I envy that. But at the same time, I know that he could not do what I do. So we all have our roles, and it's up to us to figure out how to best live our lives and be our whole selves and bring our whole self into every one of those facets of life. But don't think balance, please, because you're going to set yourself up for failure.
All right, thank you. We'll take more questions at the end. Thank you very much. But it's a good segue to something we were hoping to talk about, which is as professionals. So we're now putting the balance towards our professional side of our lives now. What can we do as women in this field to change? We're talking about perhaps corporate policies, family policies, or others. You want to pull with that one, Emily?
Sure. So I think I mentioned something about our secret sauce earlier and then didn't quite explain what that was. So I didn't mean that as a teaser. There are three things that I find really work in our programs and can work in a lot of others, and one of them is directly related to this. So the first was community, which I already talked about. The second is kind of computer science, real computer science and project-based learning, which I can talk more about later as well. But the third is mentorship and role models. And so that's something that I think everyone in this room can do. In my personal experience, it was because of a role model and combining that with the community that really pushed me through. There was a PhD student who was in my computer science department when I was an undergrad, and I had those moments in the lab where I almost dropped, and I was like had a really difficult assignment or a really difficult project. And I had this look in my eyes of like, I can't do it. And she was the person next to me saying, yes, you can. And if I hadn't had that person, then I might not have continued. We see this with our students, that when they have role models, and part of our programs is to bring in engineers from the area, bring in graduate students, and bring in a diversity of role models, so that what we say at Girls Who Code is you can't be what you can't see. So if you have a role model and you can look at them and say, I identify with that person, or I identify with part of their story, they're much more likely to be able to visualize themselves in that path and continue.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that everyone can do across the board. And by the way, women don't have to only have female role models. You can have male role models, and women can be role models to men as well.
Thank you. So I have asked to get a sign of how much time we have left, and I've gotten that sign. We have a little bit more time. So I want to throw it to a different kind of angle, which is we said this panel was about tomorrow. So Yvette, do you want to talk a bit about what you see as the career trends for tomorrow, and talking about could they actually stimulate participation of more women in computing because of what you see and what we've heard this morning as well, that's happening. So could you take that for us?
Right. So, of course, a lot of you are familiar with all of the jobs in computer science and programming and IT development. But I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but there's this growing area of human-computer interaction. And these jobs, we call them user experience design or user experience research jobs. And what it is basically bridging between the people who use the technology and then the people who create it. So you may create what you think is the best app in the world, but it's never going to be the best app until 100 billion people use it. And how do you get those people to use it? You have to really understand what are their needs, what do they like, what makes them tick. And this is an area where women are flourishing. It's very unusual, especially in the field of computing, because this user experience, if you look at companies that hire these people, there are so many women who work as user experience researchers. And one of this is because women have the ability to understand people, sometimes better than men are able to. They're able to listen to what other people want. And sometimes these soft skills, such as interpersonal skills, communication, understanding psychology, these are things that women are good at. So if you have the computing skills plus some of these other psychology or communication skills, you're able to put yourself in a very interdisciplinary field and work in this new field that has only been around for a very, very short time. And I think that this is a field that is going to be larger in the future, because every single product that's out there now has some kind of computer in it, right? Mm-hmm. Our phones used to be just, machinery that was connected through electricity, but now it's a computer. Our cars, they're computers now. So our clothes, they're going to be computers, and our media, newspapers, everything includes some form of computing. So since people have to interact with computers in their everyday lives with so many different products, and all of these products are going to be interconnected to each other. I'm sure you've heard of the term Internet of Things. Mm-hmm. This refers to how not only people are communicating through technology, but also products are communicating through technology. This creates a really vibrant environment that's very complex, that has so much data, like digital data being generated out of it. And we need people who are able to understand the people, understand the technology, and be able to make sense of all of this digital data that is being generated around us. Right now, if you look at companies that are hiring people that analyze big data, this is like a huge buzzword right now. And the thing is that just knowing how to do statistics is not enough. You have to understand human behavior to make sense of all that digital data. So I think that this is a field going forward. It's going to be huge, and it's growing, and I get so many requests from companies asking me to send them students who know how to do like user experience research. And I have friends at Facebook and Google who keep hiring every year people in this area because it's a core area. And the really promising thing is that companies are realizing that women are very good at this, and a lot of them have been also changing their corporate policies to be more family and women friendly. So for example, like Facebook gives a 4-month leave to anyone who has recently had a child, whether it's a mother or a father, or both, if both are working at the same company. And so while the current landscape may seem very bleak, as more women enter the field, companies are going to start realizing that, you know, there are things that they have to offer to have these women stay. And so I think that I have a very positive outlook on the future. And I work with a lot of students, and I work with a lot of female students who are doing great. And I'm very optimistic for your futures.
Yeah. And to broaden that a little bit, to Yvette's point, every industry
Needs.
every company is really a technology company. We support large corporations in the work that we do at my firm, and I don't care if I'm talking to an automotive company or a bank, a financial services company, the way they describe themselves to us is, we are a technology company, which makes it so much more important that our children are educated to pursue 21st century jobs, because they will all have some sort of computing or technology undergirding whatever the job is that you're doing.
Absolutely. So I thank you for that added comment, but I think we got the answer of why you got that Yahoo award, Yvette, for what you
Yes.
just said. So do we have any time for questions? Nancy, Judy, we have questions. So you're the timekeeper. Do you want to have the first question? Or
I do have a question I wanted to ask relative. Gale and I work together on a grant where we're helping mid-career displaced IT.
can everybody hear Judith Sheft?
Yeah, Gale and I work together on a grant where we have been helping mid-career displaced IT professionals try to get the newer skills to get back in the workforce. And I'd appreciate really from Avis any comments relative to this older, experienced workforce and some of the challenges that we see trying to get them into the jobs, and yet we hear that there's plenty of jobs available because of the statistics that you talked about.
Well, as you can imagine, older workers who have progressed up the compensation scale may present a challenge with so many younger people that are at the entry level and who are vying for those same jobs. And so just pure compensation can be a competitive disadvantage for some mid-career people. But also, I think it's their approach and their outlook in pursuing those jobs as well. They're competing with people who came out of the womb with a device in their hand. And so they have to really shine and go that extra yard. And this is male or female, but just because of where they are at their career, in their career and who they're competing against, you know, it may seem a little weighted to the younger person. I know as an employer, if I can get 2 for 1, you know, but I also am very committed to more experienced workers, because for me, with a small firm, I place more value on interpersonal skills, the ability for me to be able to put you in front of my customers, who I work very hard to get, is more important to me than a technical skill, which you can learn. I can pay for you to learn that skill. So I think you have a gold mine. In fact, I'm looking for people right now. You have a gold mine.
Some people.
You have a gold mine of people who have work ethic, who have ability to communicate, ability to go up and down, and the ability to do whatever is necessary to get the job done and to meet deadlines. And so that's a gold mine.
We'll speak to you afterwards.
We will
on that.
talk. We will talk.
So I see 2 hands, 3 hands. I think
Who
we
has
have
the mic?
I think there's time for one more. I do want to be respectful of the next panel. But as we are unmiked, perhaps the 4 of us could go to the corner and those questions could be asked. So the 4, the person with the mic, go for it.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. Yvette, this question is for you.
Nancy is saying something more. Those who don't get their questions answered right now. At the end of the program, there'll be time to ask them. So please, please.
This is a brief question for Yvette. I was wondering if you can go into the benefits of digital marketing for small companies and what that involves from your perspective. Thank you.
So the question was, what does digital marketing involve?
Small company.
Right. So digital marketing, we could talk more about this later in detail, but traditionally it used to be, if you've watched like Mad Men or any of understanding how like marketing or advertising works in the past, people try to, understand what people want and try to deliver it to them. But now there's a lot of data about what people are actually purchasing. So for example, if you ever buy anything on Amazon, they have a record of everything you've bought. And through that, they can provide you recommendations of what you may want in the future. Same goes for services like Netflix. They recommend you what kind of movie that you may want to watch in the future based on your past behavior. So digital marketing is moving towards the field of, instead of just trying to figure out what people want, let's look at what they've already done in the past and try to analyze that. And so that's kind of looking at data and being able to analyze trends not at the aggregate level, but for each individual person is something that the digital marketing field is moving towards.
So I understand that the next panel, that question will even be answered more thoroughly. So I want to thank the panel. They've done a terrific job. And with that, I want to conclude, but I want all eyes on the red chair. Please remember what you heard today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gale.